Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to do a little video today on Parallax. If you don't know much about it, we're going to dive into it a little ways, and I'm going to teach you some things on what me and the guys do when we're going up on the line, going to be shooting, going to be target practicing, going to be bouncing back and forth from different distances because it will affect your impact. So if you don't know much about it, there's probably a good chance you've probably chased around some point of impact shifts, or maybe thought it was due to regulator issues or something else. And it's really easy to do, especially if you're taking your head off the gun. If you're not leaving it sitting in the same place, you know, you might be taking a shot and then, you know, adjusting with this or putting some more ammo up in your magazines or something else. And when you put your head back on your gun, now your impact has changed. So that's one thing we're going to kind of look at today. It'll be a real quick video, but it'll be a little informative. We don't have the air gun with us today. It's actually packed up, loaded up in the truck, and it's ready to disappear for the weekend. But I had this thing close by, so I figured we'd grab it. This is a 22 long rifle. It is a CZ 457 with a L3I drop-in barrel. It has a 1/16 twist with the wasp action. It's sitting in their own hive chassis. This thing is very adjustable, very low center of gravity, very wide front end. It's just very it's a very adjustable stock, and you can really lock this thing down to the shooter, which is what you want. But being said, let's go ahead and get started on this. Now we do have the Razor Gen 3 sitting on top of this. And if you look on this side, you're going to have your Parallax adjustment. It's going to be opposite of your windage. It's going to have a bunch of different yardage increments on it. Some of the older scopes may have it in the front bell. You may have a scope that doesn't even have one, but I imagine if you're watching this video, you probably do have one that has a Parallax on it. Now, what some people think, they think just because these have yardages on them, that that's where you adjust your scope if it has a bullet drop compensation reticle or a tree reticle, and that's simply not the case. And if you've been around a lot of people, you've probably heard it where somebody says, oh, well, you know, I dialed this scope to 200 yards, you know, and it's not accurate, but that's why, because it's not for yardage. It's only to adjust your reticle to where it doesn't move around as much, and it kind of keeps you centered and crisp up your image some, or crisp up your image. So the video, or the little video I'm going to show with it, you're going to be able to see what I'm looking at through the scope, except it's on a piece of paper with a Sharpie. So it's a little different, but it's going to give you the same concept. Now when I'm going, if I'm shooting let's just say 50 yards at a match, at a stage, if I'm shooting a single distance, I'm going to adjust this Parallax to where my image does not move around while I'm moving my head, because I'm going to be probably moving positions. I might be shooting 50 yards or 100 yards, but there's a good chance I might be changing where I'm shooting from. So when I'm changing where I'm shooting from, that means my head is going to be coming off of this scope, or coming off of this stock, and I'm not going to be in the same position that I was in, which means that my point of impact could move if, you know, if this reticle was moving with me. So what I'm doing here is I'm adjusting this, like it may say 50 yards, and we'll just start with that. And I know on this Razor, it's probably going to be closer to 45 yards, you know, about around where this image is perfect. Now what you're doing whenever I'm adjusting this is, it's called a Bobble Test. A good buddy of mine that I shoot with taught me all about this, so got to give him little props. But if you get behind a gun, and what I like to do is I like to keep all of my interaction off the gun. So I'll try and set it someplace where it can sit still, where I'm not going to move it. And I try not to touch my face on the gun, so I'm not affecting the scope. But what I'm doing is I'm looking down the reticle at a fixed position, and I'm just moving my head around inside there. And I'm watching that reticle do this. And as I adjust this Parallax, I'm going to see that image start start to move less and less until that crosshairs are fixed, and no matter what I'm doing with my head, it don't move. And that's going to allow you to be able to take a shot, get your head off the gun, put your face on the gun again, and you might not be in the same position. And that's going to allow you to be able to repeat those shots and keep them all grouping the same. If you don't have this parallax right, the way you shoot one time, your impact might be slightly off to the left, and you might think it's a wind. So then the next shot you compensate for the right a little bit, and because now your head's in the wrong position, now you just completely miss the target, and it costs you impacts, or maybe costs you the squirrel or whatever you're shooting at. So that's some of the stuff we do. And I will say that as you get closer distances, you're going to see where this parallax is much more finicky. You really have to pay close attention to your parallax. Obviously, if you have big targets, it's one thing, but pretty much anybody that's going to be shooting and doing the kind of stuff that we're doing, we're going to be shooting smaller targets at closer distances. And a 1/4 inch target is, if you don't parallax right, you're probably going to miss it. And if you don't, it's probably going to cost you points eventually, and that's not something you want to do. But as you start stretching out, you go from, like this one here, this parallax is all the way down to 10 yards. That's a very, very close distance. A lot of scopes don't parallax that close. A lot of places don't put targets out that close, but if you go to a national match, or you got a tricky match director, you may find something that's really close. And if your scope don't parallax down, you're going to have problems, and it's probably going to cost you some points. But as you start getting into those closer distances, you're going to find out that you really have to be finicky on your parallax. Now, as you get from 10 to 50, or 10 to 25 be one thing, 25 to 50 be one thing, 50 to 100, it starts getting a little less finicky, 100 to 200, and so on. But pretty much anything within 100 yards, you're going to want to pay close attention to it. Now, if you get 100 to 300, it's not terrible big a deal, because usually the target size is big enough where you don't have to, you got enough compensation there. But it's still, it's still something you really want to pay close attention to. But that's really want to make this quick video about, was just making sure you guys know exactly what the parallax is, what we do with it, and how to adjust for it. Other than that, that's pretty much it on that. Just make sure when you're doing this, if you're going to be bouncing around distances, you're adjusting your parallax. If you're doing holdovers up here, you can lock out your holdovers, and then you don't have to worry about dialing your elevation turret and your parallax. But you should always at least, adjust your parallax, and that's going to be the one thing that's definitely going to cost you points if your data is on, and you can do holdovers just fine. But anyways, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time.